Host, Dr. Erin Myers, CEO and founder of Evolve, where we empower a leadership evolution that creates world-class leaders who accelerate business growth. I look forward to getting to know you better and being a part of your leadership journey. Enjoy the podcast. So for today's guided meditation, we are going to continue on the topic of conflict. But whereas the earlier podcast this week discussed external conflict, today we are going to be moving internally on how to resolve our own internal conflicts. And as we begin every meditation, let's bring attention to our thoughts. Then let's move to our hearts. And finally, to our physical and energetic bodies. Now let's bring kind awareness to why we chose this topic. What was it about the title of this guided meditation that drew you to it? How do our bellies, chests, and heads each feel as we reflect on this topic? And then we will bring awareness to the emotions that are associated with the feelings being brought up in our bellies, chests, and head. Next, we'll move to bringing awareness about the positive or negative impact of any stories we believe in regarding this topic. Know that many others are feeling similarly about this topic. You are not alone. Finally, let's bring kind awareness to how we might feel with increased awareness around the topic of resolving internal conflict. And as we move into the exercise we will do through this guided meditation today, let's think about where in our day-to-day lives we can apply increased mindfulness to resolving internal conflict. This guided meditation comes from an exercise done by Tony Robbins. But let's begin with some facts from our head. There are scientific statistics and scientific studies that show that when our minds and our hearts are in alignment, we are able to resolve internal conflicts. The reason for this is that our heart actually has hormones that affect the way our brains function. It's not just our brains affecting our hearts, it's also our hearts affecting our brains. It's a symbiotic relationship. Often, the conflicts that we have are between our conscious and our unconscious minds. As an example, when we put electrodes on our brains as well as on our hearts at the same time and run a simultaneous EEG and EKG. When we are in a normal state, we get jagged ups and downs, and neither the EEG or the EKG align. In fact, they look nothing like each other. What we are going to do for the rest of this guided meditation is to bring physical awareness to the symbiotic relationship between our minds and our hearts. At the end of this guided meditation, if we were to keep those EEGs and EKG electrodes on, we'll notice that the results are no longer jagged. Instead, they're rounded. And what is the most mind-boggling of all is that they sync up. They become identical. They begin to look as though they're tracing each other. So let's begin. Put both of our hands on our heart and physically breathe deep into our hearts. Inhale into the heart cavity and exhale. Continue breathing deeply into our hearts, and as we do so, begin to feel the strength of our hearts. Feel the power of our hearts. Feel the beauty of our hearts. What are we proud of? What are we grateful for? Our hearts have guided us to find this pride, to find the gratefulness. Our minds simply present the facts. It is our hearts that tie in the emotions. And as we breathe in and fill that heart cavity, what do we feel? What do we enjoy? The feel of the strength of the breath that we are breathing into our powerful hearts. Feel the blood flow full of oxygen. And let us all be grateful for our hearts. We didn't have to earn these hearts. They were given to us. We didn't have to prove their value or their worth. We didn't have to accomplish anything. Something loved us enough to give us the gift of life. And as long as our hearts are beating, we have that gift and we live. 100,000 times a day, our hearts pump blood through 60,000 miles of blood vessels. If we were to take those blood vessels and put them end to end, they would go around the equator twice. That is what is inside of us, and we don't even think about it. But our hearts are a gift. So as we continue to breathe into our hearts, and we feel that powerful heart, how do we feel in this moment? For the rest of this guided meditation, we will be tying in the power of the heart with the thinking power of the brain. We're going to think of 3 events in our lives that we are grateful for. But first, let's start with just one. One experience, one moment that we feel gratitude toward. This was a magic moment, a sacred moment, a sexy moment, a beautiful moment, a loving moment, any moment that we could feel grateful for. Let us step into that memory as though we were stepping into our bodies in that moment. What are we thinking? What are we hearing? And let's begin to change our breath to be in alignment with the way in which we are breathing in that moment. Begin to fill up with a sense of gratitude for being in this moment. Smile as though you are grateful for being in the moment. What are we looking at? What are our eyes seeing? Continue to sync our breaths with the breath of that moment. What is the look on our faces when we reflect on how truly grateful we are for physically being in this moment? And let's continue to fill up with gratitude from the tips of our toes all the way up through our ankles and our legs, our knees, our thighs, our hips, our bellies, our chests, our ribs that are protecting the powerful heart. They all fill with gratitude, which then emerges at the top of the ribs into our shoulders, our arms, our necks, our chins, our cheeks, our ears, our eyes, our foreheads, and ultimately through the ends of our hair and up into the universe. We are filled with the gratitude of this moment. The reason we use gratitude is because so frequently anger and fear knock us out of balance, and we can't be grateful and angry simultaneously. We can't be fearful and grateful simultaneously. Gratitude and anger and fear are antidotes. So we must fill ourselves up with gratitude to release any fear and anger that is lingering in our physical bodies in this moment. Now, let's begin to think of a second moment that we are truly grateful for. Then let's breathe deep into our hearts, feeling that power as we reflect on that moment. If you're uncertain of the moment, it could be any moment, one from childhood, one from adulthood. It could be last week, it could be today, it could be 10 years ago. Any moment that we just truly feel that it was great, that it was powerful, that it was magical, beautiful, magnificent. Something that gives us the feeling of tremendous gratitude. Breathe into it. Feel it. Enjoy it. Fill it up with gratitude. And finally, think of the third moment we could feel truly grateful for. Let's step into it. Let's see it. Let's feel it. Let's be there. Feel the gratitude. What are we still grateful for? What are we grateful for now? And now, let's throw in a bonus. A coincidental moment where life happened when we were least expecting it. Perhaps we were going to do one thing and we ended up changing courses and ran into an unexpected opportunity. Perhaps we developed a partner, became a friend, a lover, the love of our lives, or maybe even a business opportunity. That moment came from coincidence, or an insight came from a coincidence that became invaluable to our lives. That is truly something we should be grateful for. Let's find that coincidence in our lives. Move into that present moment and fill it with gratitude. Now, we return our breaths to filling our hearts. Return to the current state and fill our powerful hearts. Continue to feel the gratitude from the 4 moments we reflected on. And continue to breathe into our hearts, to stay up in our heads, and yet to still be present in our hearts. What is the current situation that is bringing that fear or anger, the unfinished business that has us stressed out? But as we think of that unfinished business, continue breathing into the beautiful state of our hearts. And let's ask ourselves this question. All that I need to focus on in that situation, in that unfinished business, all we need to focus on, all that we need to remember is what? Our heart knows the truth. All we need to focus on, all we need to remember, all we need to do in this situation is what? Our heart knows the answer. All we need to focus on, all we need to remember, all we need to do is, and then, our heart knows the answer. You know what you need to do next. Namaste.